The new Switch 2 should improve the console and handheld aspects of the first Switch, and to do that, I think Nintendo needs to split the two entirely. I don't think many compromises really need to be made. I wish I saved it, but I remember seeing a TikTok a while ago saying that the Switch wasn't really portable the way that other portable devices are. You know, I can't bring the Switch out when I'm waiting to get my hair cut and not get looked at like I'm kind of a weirdo. Yes, it's portable because you don't need to plug it into a wall to play it, but you need a backpack to carry this thing around. I'm definitely not just going to carry it loose with how weak the Joy-Cons are. So it's portable, but not quite. I got just a little bit of hate on my video and shorts about the Switch 2, and I think that's pretty fair. I am just picking on a console that hasn't come out yet, but there's so many ways to improve things that Nintendo just didn't do. Here's how I do it. A while back, the Humane AI pin was released, and it sucked. It was very bad.
Just one flashing green speck over here. I guess the laser ink display is already kind of messed up. Probably not a good sign for this technology, but you know what? This is a new thing, this whole laser ink display, so I will, whoa.
Cowboy Carter, time to strike a match.
But one of the cool things that it did was it had its battery in a booster pack that could actually come off of the device. And that gave you way more battery space, as well as allowing you to actually attach and detach boosters. I think the Switch 2 could pull off something really similar. What if the Switch is a portable handheld device that can then plug into a home base to become a more powerful console? Right now, the dock is basically just an HDMI outlet. It has some spec upgrades, but really the Switch is the device. The dock is just the piece of plastic that gets it to your TV. What if the dock was like its own thing? The handheld will be a clamshell design, kind of like the DS, kind of in the size of a large phone, something that could actually fit in your pocket. And there's no two screens. The bottom part has the Joy-Cons that, instead of attaching to the side, are actually laid in. So I can play it just on my own like a device, but I can also take those Joy-Cons out and share them with my buddies, just like the original Switch. But here's where the magic happens. You take it home, plug it into the mothership, or whatever you want to call it, and boom, immediately upgrades on the graphics, upgrades on the performance. The mothership actually enhances the device with its own tech. What you lose between handheld and docked is mostly going to be graphics, because the mothership has its own dedicated high-powered graphics card inside that essentially bumps up the power of the Switch when you have it docked. It could even store its own high poly textures and RAM in that mega storage device that you don't have to worry about making portable anymore. It would be so cool, almost as cool as you hitting the subscribe button. And when you're in handheld, it doesn't have access to those higher specs, so it's still gonna run fine, just, you know, lower quality, 30 frames, stuff like that. And Nintendo's had their stuff running at 30 frames for a long time and been able to do very impressive stuff with it, so I think they'll be fine. With this new system, you don't need to sacrifice on performance, because the powerful performance comes in docked mode, and then yes, you get less graphics, but now you have a sleek and beautiful portable device that's actually portable. Clearly, Nintendo wants to perform more like a console with this new hefty price tag and games like the new Borderlands coming to Switch on release day. That's not something that we usually see, so obviously AAA games are excited about being on Nintendo consoles. So these two things, handheld and console, are no longer holding each other back. The last thing would be to make it a fully digital device. That means on the handheld, you don't have to dedicate space to a card reader, and on the dock, it's just easier for everything to sync up when it's all digitally saved to your account. Okay, the first big obvious objection that someone might have to my idea is that making this a smaller device really cramps it, makes it not comfortable to play handheld. And that's a fair complaint. I know that a lot of people do play solely on handheld. First thing we have to admit is that this isn't exactly a comfortable experience either. But still, I think there's two solutions to this. The first is a bigger handheld option, kind of like the Switch Lite. Make a bigger, less portable device, but it's much more powerful for someone that just wants to play, you know, in bed or whatever. And the second option is for Nintendo to do what they do best: stick it in some plastic. Grips, bumps, cases, everything that might make the new device less portable, but way more comfortable to use in a handheld setting. Another objection is that a digital-only device isn't the most accessible, because in order to get games, you need to have Wi-Fi and some way to pay online. We have seen digital-only devices, but never just a digital-only device. There's always, the regular PlayStation 5, and then the cheaper one that you can just download with. I think that's just a pretty unfortunate turn for how things are going, because even with the new Switch 2, most of the new features you have to use online, which means you need to have a Nintendo Online membership, which means you need to have Wi-Fi and a way to pay for it. So it's just what it is. And with so many games these days, even if you buy it physically, you still need access to the internet for updates or extra downloads, stuff like that.
Here's one good thing about the Switch 2's fake cartridges. I wasn't happy that some of the Switch 2's cartridges are basically just fancy DRM that you have to insert to play a digital game.
The best thing to do here is just to sell digital codes as items in stores. That allows, Nintendo to keep up their market presence, and it's going to potentially lower the cost, because if you didn't know, making the stupid little Cheez-Its is so expensive. Objection number 3 is that this fragments the device too much, having two different ways to play that, have different experiences. I disagree entirely. I'm a console guy. I play at home on a TV most of the time. The reason I go with Nintendo is because I'm obsessed with getting my ass kicked on Smash. So the ability to have something really powerful and strong at home and still have a portable option to take with me is just a win-win. And if you like handheld mostly, that's great. The technology is already there. Legend of Zelda, Animal Crossing, Among Us, it all looks fantastic on the Switch. And the power is there to make it great and even better in a smaller form factor. If you want a more powerful device, mine is the one for you. If you want a more portable device, mine is the one for you. The only thing it really does is make it less of a family communal console the way the Switch is. It's so easy to just bring it and bring your dock and plug it into someone else's TV. It brings it back to kind of the Wii days where everyone's playing, Wii Sports with each other. The thing with that is Nintendo Switch Sports is not nearly as good as Wii Sports. It's not even close. People just aren't using this console that way as much anymore because there's different options. There's Jackbox games. There's so many great phone games now. There's free games like Roblox that you can play on almost any device. That idea of having one console that everyone gets around, I don't think it really exists as much anymore, especially when the new Switch 2 is $450. So something that can split into two and make both types of players happy without sacrificing, the other side. With this system, I could see docked-only games coming to the platform, not from Nintendo, but from other third parties. If this docked console can handle the capabilities of these big games without them needing to come out in a remastered version 5 years later, that opens a whole new door to the types of developers and types of players that will be excited about the new system. And if the handheld is truly portable, that opens the door to really quick, fun, slice-of-life aesthetic games as well. Technology is getting really good, and right now Nintendo has their hand in two different baskets, portable and powerful. You can't have a portable device that's as powerful as a home console, and you can't have a truly next-level gaming device that you can fit in your pocket. As these two categories get further away from each other, Nintendo is stuck in the middle trying to make something that does both. Their newest innovations are a webcam and a mouse, two things that already existed. At some point, Nintendo needs to find the synergy between portable and powerful, and the synergy comes when you let those things exist on their own.